Tom has been chasing Jerry for 85 years, but how often was Tom actually successful? How many times has Tom caught Jerry? Tom and Jerry were created by William Hanna and Joseph Barbera in 1940, and they found fame and acclaim for their many theatrical shorts. Before televisions became widespread household items after World War II, cinemas were where you would go to catch up with news, watch movies, and also short cartoons, and this made Tom and Jerry into superstars with their edgy and wildly funny slapstick comedy. With a really simple premise of a cat chasing a mouse, I'm going to count every time a catch occurs. But first, let's set some ground rules. I'm only going to stick to the theatrical shorts, only the Tom and Jerry's that were shown in cinemas. So not the 15 straight-to-DVD movies, the comics, the games, or the musical? And I'm sorry, but none of the TV shows. So no Tom and Jerry Kids, Tom and Jerry Play, or whatever the hell the Tom and Jerry comedy show was.
Say, pal, do you know what's the biggest mouse in the world?
Sure, a hippopotamus.
Sorry, I ain't.
But you might say, why no TV shows, Eddie, you big bloody coward? And I'd say, stop shouting. You're scaring me. Here's all the TV shows. Every episode has around 2 to 3 Tom and Jerry segments, so this would total over 650 shorts. There's over 160 hours. And that doesn't even include the theatrical shorts. So if you call me a coward again, you would be right. And I would cry. We also have to quantify what constitutes as a catch. If you recall my video where I counted every time the Roadrunner was caught, I had similar rules and they apply here. Through Tom's direct intervention, Jerry is held captive and he cannot or does not escape unless there is another intervention. This intervention can include Tom being threatened or attacked, something backfiring, something causing distraction, or someone stepping in to save Jerry. Likewise, this includes Tom making a mistake, like moving Jerry somewhere else, leading to his escape, Tom getting distracted, Tom subsequently letting Jerry go, or the means of capture eventually stops. If Jerry is able to immediately escape by himself without any extra help or extra tools, then the catch is unsuccessful. There's another problem judging these catches. Wile E. Coyote's intentions are always very clear. He wants to eat the Roadrunner. But for Tom, he has a range of motivations, like here, Tom grabs Jerry, but they're just pretending to chase each other. Or here, Tom is kissing and hugging Jerry instead. It can't just be any time Tom has his hands on Jerry. We have to add a new rule about Tom's intent. For it to count, Tom has to truly intend to capture Jerry. That can be because Tom wants to eat him, prank him, kill him, evict him, or stop him. It can also be someone else is influencing Tom to get Jerry, whether he's under direct orders or he's trying to impress someone. Those are my rules. Tom has to want to catch Jerry, and Jerry has to be truly caught. There's an argument to be made that Jerry is never caught. Jerry demonstrates multiple times that he is way stronger than he appears to be, and can throw Tom about like nothing. So he can't ever really be stopped by Tom. In fact, there are multiple episodes that make reference to the fact that they know they're in a cartoon, so therefore they're just pretending and nothing is real.
Funny cartoons!
But that would make this a pretty terrible video, so I'm going to ignore that and begin with our first wave of Tom and Jerry cartoons. Tom and Jerry's first cartoon was 1940's Puss Gets the Boot, and immediately establishes the very foundations of these characters. A cunning but clumsy cat and a quick-witted mouse both trying to outsmart each other in a sequence of slapstick comedy violence, typically ending with the mouse victorious. Also, the storyline that if Tom does one more bad thing, he'll suffer is a device that gets used often.
One more sound and off comes your head.
If one more thing happens to my little dream house, there's going to be murder.
And Jerry weaponizing this against Tom raises the stakes and leads to some of their better moments. Cartoons in the 40s often had lots of dialogue.
Listen, my soldier.
But the duo's lack of dialogue here keeps them grounded, to behave more like actual animals, but it also allows for the focus to be on the other elements such as the animation, the music, but mostly the slightly sadistic twist to the humour. It has an edge, a bite to it, which became the staple for the rest of Hanna-Barbera shorts. It's a bit rough round the edges, and there's other details that will change over time. Tom screeches like a real cat before he got his more famous scream. And there's also his name.
Jasper? Jasper!
Yeah, we'll come back to this maid character in a bit. After the success of this short and the demand for more, Jasper and Jinx were officially renamed Tom and Jerry, which is an alcoholic drink, but the names are derived from the British satirical novel entitled Life in London, or the day and night scenes of Jerry Hawthorne, Esquire, and his elegant friend Corinthian Tom, accompanied by Bob Logic, the Oxonian, in their rambles and sprees through the metropolis. Catchy! Oh yeah, the catches! There's 3 in this episode, including right at the very start with Jerry already caught, which is common across many episodes. There's this instance where Jerry runs into Tom's mouth, but since Jerry freely runs back out again, we don't count this as a catch. One problem we face, and part of the reason I hesitated making this video, is Tom catches Jerry a lot. This isn't like Roadrunner, where the catches were very rare. Tom catches Jerry more times than I catch a cold, which isn't all the time. So I won't stop to explain every single catch, but I will go into some of the more debatable ones, such as in Puss in Toots. Toots, toots, why am I Scottish? Tom loves impressing the lady cats to varying degrees of frizz. But in this episode, it opens with Tom having already caught Jerry like before, and then moves him to this filing cabinet. Since Jerry never escapes from this, we can presume he's still in a caught status. When he does break free, Tom's so cool and nonchalant, he can effortlessly re-catch Jerry, let him go, and then re-catch him again. But is this 3 catches? Or just 1? If Tom clearly had such control over the situation, was Jerry really ever free here? Are any of us free? If God is real, do humans have free will? Are we gods of our own universe, or are we prisoners in a cage we cannot see? I think I've eaten too many brownies. Tom often has Jerry under duress, moments where Jerry could run away, but he's intimidated to stay Tom's prisoner. Tom will force him to be his golf caddy or his butler, where it's clear Tom is in control, so these can all be viewed as one long big catch. But here, Jerry does try to run away. Even when Jerry blindly runs up Tom's arm, he has his eyes closed. Tom couldn't have made him do that. So while Tom may have been in full control, I think I will still call this sequence 3 separate catches. There's times where, like with the filing cabinet, Jerry could probably get out. He can get out of more inescapable things and inexplicably appear somewhere else, like something out of a Tex Avery cartoon.
Hello again.
But in order to make our count, there are some moments where we really have to question if Jerry is actually stuck. In Just Ducky, Tom traps Jerry in a milk tank. We don't see Jerry again until the end of the episode, but what happened to the milk tank? Our rule says if Jerry is able to get himself out, then it can't count as a catch, but we don't know how Jerry got out. Did he have outside help, or did it open up again, or what? Not seeing this means of escape made this catch a real head scratcher. So I had to add a new rule that if Jerry takes a long time to get out, then this still counts as a catch. Think of it like putting someone in a prison cell and eventually they dig a tunnel to get out. That doesn't mean that the prisoner was practically a free man going in. They were caught, and after being left unattended for a while, they escaped. And on the subject of breaking out, in the Milky Way, Jerry is caught inside a milk bottle whilst Tom chases this little baby mouse. He's sometimes called Nibbles, and sometimes called Tuffy, and sometimes he's French.
Bonjour, Monsieur Jerry.
Adorable. Anyway, Tom tries to shoot a baby. When Tom does finally corner him, Tom spanks him, leading to Jerry to burst free from the glass bottle and, in a fit of rage, beat the shit out of Tom. Is it fair to say that Jerry was never trapped in the first place? Of course not. Jerry is definitely caught. The way he burst through the bottle doesn't feel normal. I debated Jerry's super strength earlier, but this feels more like a special case. That Tom went too far, he crossed a line, leading to Jerry's fury and wrath. Another thing we have to consider is where we draw the line on Tom being actually responsible for the catch. Like in Trap Happy, Tom hires another cat, named Butch, to be a mouse exterminator. Then Butch succeeds in catching Jerry. Now, I'm not counting all the times another character catches Jerry, even when Butch does it himself. But in this instance, Tom hired him to catch Jerry. So isn't this really Tom's catch? On the other hand, in Professor Tom, Tom teaches a student cat, this one called Topsy, yes, they all have names, how to catch mice, and eventually he does. In both cases, the cats are acting under Tom's instructions, and yet I'm saying that this one counts and this one doesn't. With the Professor Tom episode, Topsy doesn't actually want to catch Jerry. He helps hide him from Tom, and even after catching Jerry, which, looking at their expressions, seems more playful, refuses to hand him over. He's become friends with Jerry. It's not a friendship that lasts for very long in future episodes, but still. Whereas in Trap Happy, Butch has no problem trying to kill Jerry. So these third-party catches will only count if their intent aligns with Tom's. Which makes the episode designs on Jerry a bit of a confusing case, since a drawing of Tom, drawn by Tom, comes to life and catches Jerry. Their intent would seem to align, since this is Tom creating an elaborate mousetrap after all, but it's not like Tom planned this. They can have a shared goal, but Tom didn't intend for a drawing of himself to come to life, catch Jerry, and for him to be saved by his own drawing of Jerry. Did he learn nothing from Wile E. Coyote? It's a delight to watch these golden era cartoons, but many modern releases and screenings are heavily censored, and that makes things tricky because what if a catch occurs in something that's been edited out? Certain moments of violence, such as guns, stabbing, or execution, as well as scenes of smoking, are either removed or edited around in current versions. Or whole episodes are banned for things like child endangerment or suicide. And then there's this. Unfortunately, blackface was an all-too-common punchline Tom and Jerry would pull all the time, and it's a tough watch. Now, we all know that this is very much a product of its time, but it's humbling to remember that enough people at this time found this funny enough for them to just keep doing it, as well as the less frequent Asian and Native American jokes. And of course, there's the controversial character of the maid. This nameless and faceless African-American character is often framed or implied to be the housekeeper of a home that isn't hers, played by the actress Lillian Randolph, and came to be known as Mammy Two Shoes. Her name is never mentioned in Tom and Jerry, and in fact, due to a mix-up by a film journalist, comes from a different maid character from a series of Disney shorts, also voiced by Lillian Randolph.
What in the name of goodness is that yellow devil up to?
Over time, Hanna-Barbera did slowly alter the character from housekeeper to home owner, seemingly in response to the change in times, but when Lillian Randolph left the role in the 50s, MGM wisely never recast the character, and she was quietly retired. Later on, a white couple would become Tom's owners. In the 60s, MGM carefully replaced Mammy Two Shoes with a white woman in order to show TV repeats of the classic episodes, and in some cases, redub her with an Irish accent.
Get out of here, you pug-nosed old messin' good-for-nothing!
Get out of here, you pug-nosed old messin' good-for-nothing!
In the 90s, it was decided to restore Mammy's appearance and instead redub her dialogue to remove further racial stereotypes.
You is going out! O-W-T out!
You are going out! O-U-T out!
I find it a huge shame to lose Lillian Randolph's fantastic performance as a result, especially since, in that time, she stood out as black women were often performed by white men.
What do you all mean, really?
But at least they're not hiding one of the most prominent black characters in the golden era of animation history and pretending they never happened at all. Times were changing for Tom and Jerry. The rise of TV in the 50s and the decline of theatrical screenings led to Tom and Jerry suffering budget cuts. By this point, the character designs had gotten simplified, the jokes repeated, plots repeated. A handful of episodes would just be a compilation of past clips from previous episodes, but at least with a newly animated narrative for it, like Tom reading Jerry's diary or being shown home movies. I'm not double counting the catches in these repeated clips, but there's at least a few unique catches in the new parts. And how many catches were there in this era? Let's do the count. 123 times in 66 episodes, with a further 30 episodes where either no catches occur, or they don't count because they're repeats of old clips, or it was all just a dream. And so in 1955, after producing 96 episodes, Fred Quimby retired, and while Hanna-Barbera stepped up to becoming producers, this marked a shake-up behind the scenes. But don't worry, MGM had a plan, and it was as well planned as one of Tom's traps. Up to this point, Tom and Jerry had been made in the Academy ratio, basically the size of the screen and what you can see. But with theatres making less money because of TV, movie theatres started to screen films done in CINEMASCOPE, where its much wider screen could offer audiences something they couldn't get at home at the time. Hanna-Barbera had already been dabbling using CINEMASCOPE. Episodes like Southbound Duckling were made both in CINEMASCOPE and Academy formats, and the episode Tom and Jerry was made exclusively in CINEMASCOPE.
Qu'est-ce que vous êtes? A man or a mouse? You are a mouse.
But after the episode Pecco's Pest, MGM ordered that all future shorts were made exclusively in CINEMASCOPE. When it comes to catches, there isn't all that much that's really debatable in this era. In Macho Mouse, Tom doesn't catch Jerry. He catches El Magnifico. Is that really Jerry? Or is it just a Jerry-like mouse? And I don't mean like identical-looking relatives, but an alternate universe Jerry, such as Johann Mouse or the Mouseketeers or part of Robin Hood's Merry Men. Are they the same Jerry, or parallel dimension Jerrys, as part of some vast Jerryverse? You could argue that these fantasy world alternate Jerrys are not canon in the same way these must also be alternate Toms, and not the actual Tom and or Jerry. So how do we know El Magnifico is really Jerry or not? Oh wait, it says Jerry in the production art. It's just Jerry in a different hat. Okay, never mind. In general, there feels like there's a lot less going on with these batch of shorts. I think a contributing factor of this is the internal decision to make Tom and Jerry more like friends. Tom and Jerry have teamed up in the past, united under a common enemy or cause, and they've had a truce, albeit temporarily.
You want to get back in the house, don't you?
Yeah.
But towards the end of the Hanna-Barbera run, they became less like a cat chasing a mouse, and more like a cat hanging out with a mouse. Tom has been friendly to Jerry, and Jerry has been friendly with Tom. They watch TV together, watch movies together, share dinner together. Tom is less inclined to chase Jerry, and this continues into the widescreen shorts. Let me break it down this way. There are 20 shorts in this era. 3 of them are just widescreen remakes of previous shorts, which I'm not counting, and 2 of them focus on Spike and his son Tyke. Tom and Jerry don't even appear in them, so that leaves 15 episodes. In 4 of them, Tom doesn't chase or catch Jerry. In 2 of them, there's some bickering and pranking, but no chasing, leaving us with just 9 left. In the episodes Downbeat Bear and The Vanishing Duck, there's only very brief chasing as Tom is more motivated by something else other than Jerry. In Tot Watchers, there's some early chasing, but they both stop midway to rescue a baby. In Barbecue Brawl, there's a proper cat and mouse chase, but they also appear so little in the episode, it feels more like they've made a cameo appearance in another Spike and Tyke cartoon. That leaves us with 5. Only 5 times in this era where Tom and Jerry have felt like real antagonists from start to finish, and in one of them, it turns out it was all just a dream. Why are they chumming up all of a sudden? In a 2000 interview with Joseph Barbera, it was noted how the same argument about violence in films being a bad influence were going on even when they screened them originally, and that Tom and Jerry were never going to kill each other, they were friends. You sure about that, Joe Barbera? But are you sure, though? I mean, are you, though? Are you sure about that, Joe? Are you really sure, Joe? Are you, though? But are you, though? Is that what you really think, Joe? Are you really sure about that? Joe, I think that's not true. Obviously, there's no blood or gore, and Tom can generally bounce back from having his head pummeled just fine, and even Tom's deaths are a punchline. In this 1950 interview, William Hanna says, something that probably doesn't occur to the average theatre goer is that we adhere strictly to the producer's screen morals code, and that Tom and Jerry neither drink or smoke. Are you sure about that, Bill? Well, at least they don't swear. Okay, so in fairness, there's some indication in the earliest episodes that their relationship is slightly more than basic mortal enemies. In Springtime for Thomas, Tom is so enamored with a lady cat, he doesn't give Jerry any attention, and that actually makes Jerry extremely jealous.
You're gonna let a beautiful friendship go like that?
So the rest of the episode is dedicated to him sabotaging Tom's love so that they can just resume the chase. That's right, Jerry is a big dickhead. In his autobiography, William Hanna said, "The unspoken law of Tom and Jerry chases is that Jerry never picked on Tom first."
Are you sure about that, Bill?
And there's a surprising number of times where Jerry has kissed Tom and flirted with other cats. Is he into this? I think he might be into this. I don't believe that there's any real intention of having actual friendship between these characters, but whatever their intended relationship may be, by the time we reach the CINEMASCOPE era of cartoons, their relationship has had a seismic shift. Take the 12th ever episode, where Tom is dressed like a baby and he gets bullied, beaten and harassed whilst Jerry looks on and laughs at him. This is a really hard episode to watch. It's so mean-spirited and it's all Jerry's fault, hence the literal taste of his own medicine at the end. But take this episode and compare it with the CINEMASCOPE era 103rd episode, Blue Cat's Blues, where Tom is suicidal.
Poor Tom. In a few minutes, it'll all be over.
Jesus Christ.
I suppose people will say I should have helped him, but it's better this way.
To be clear, this is not what actual friends do.
If ever there were two true friends, that was us.
Are you sure about that, Jerry? Here, Jerry is trying to stop Tom ruining himself over a girl who doesn't love him back. And then, after his own breakup, Jerry joins him on the tracks as the train draws closer, and that was the final episode they ever made. Except, no, that's an urban myth. They made loads more. This watered-down relationship also watered down the violence. Oh, a kick in the knee? That's it? Compare that to old Jerry. The CINEMASCOPE era is far from terrible, and it certainly has its funny moments. But this shift to being more friendly was arguably detrimental to the show, and overall, it's just not as good. But how does this change in tone affect the catches? And that's it. Yep. Just 13 times in 8 episodes, with 12 other episodes having 0 catches, or they just don't count. Obviously, there's far fewer episodes in this era than its original run, so it's an unfair comparison. But if we were to look at a catch per episode ratio, yeah, that's a notable drop, meaning there's only a catch once every couple of episodes, which might explain why these feel more like a letdown. MGM soon figured out that they make much more money repeating old shorts than keep paying for new ones, so closed its cartoon studio. HANNA and BARBERA would go on to form, Hanna-Barbera, and create shows like Rough and Ready, Huckleberry Hound, The Flintstones, and go on to become kings of Saturday morning cartoons. But after a few years of running the well dry, MGM decided they'd like some new Tom and Jerry cartoons now. But they couldn't ask Hanna-Barbera to do it. Never call back your ex. But who could direct MGM's Oscar-winning Cat and Mouse? Or how about someone who had just won their own Oscar for Best Animated Short Film? Sounds like a good idea, but this is when Tom and Jerry got really, really, really weird. American animator and director Gene Deitch was best known for his work at Terrytoons, such as Tom Terrific. In 1961, he directed Monroe, the Oscar-winning animated short film about a 4-year-old boy who is accidentally drafted into the US Army. While it's wonderfully stylized and played for laughs,
Okay, this won't kill you. Move up. Okay, let's go. This won't kill you. Come on, move up. Let's go. Okay.
it masks a scathing satire of strict but incompetent systems and the ignorance of those in positions of authority. It's actually really sad to see Monroe emotionally struggle, no matter how many times he has to tell everyone he's only 4.
I'm only 4.
It is the official policy of the Army not to draft men of 4. Ergo, you cannot be 4. Ergo, you only think you're 4. Go on sick call.
So how did this dark political satire from the Czech Republic lead to Tom and Jerry? Well, because MGM f***ed up. After firing Hanna-Barbera, they desperately needed someone else to animate Tom and Jerry. and so rushed into hiring Gene Deitch following his Oscar win and his team of Prague-based animators who have never seen an episode of Tom and Jerry before.
You have to understand, at that time, it was Czechoslovakia. It was an Iron Curtain, communist-run country. They had little or no access to Western entertainment.
And here's how that went. The Gene Deitch era of Tom and Jerry cartoons are some of the most surreal things I have ever seen. I'm amazed this played in theatres. It's such a strange aura. Let me put it to you this way. If the Hanna-Barbera era was itchy and scratchy, then the Gene Deitch era was worker and parasite.
What the hell is that?
So how did Gene Deitch approach Tom catching Jerry? In Mouse in Space, Jerry has had enough of Tom and so becomes an astromouse and flies into space. Tom winds up in space with him. Oh, imagine Jerry being trapped in a small shuttle as a full-sized cat climbs inside. It's like something out of a space horror.
Cat!
Anyway, Jerry doesn't exactly have much freedom inside this space pod anyway, so does Tom being there change anything? Well, he does spin him around, so I suppose this would count as a catch. And in It's Greek to Meow, there's this moment. Tom collides into the wall and his head grows an ancient Greek building that Jerry exits from. Did Tom catch Jerry inside his own head? So Tom changing shape is standard stuff, but this moment is most similar to the episode Kitty Foiled. Tom's face turns into the shape of the mouse hole and Jerry emerges from it. In both cases, the intent is there, and whilst in the Greek example, I think this is more like Jerry magically teleporting there for comedy reasons, much like in Hanna-Barbera era, Jerry is easily able to get away, and so I don't think it counts as a catch anyway. Tonally, the violence of these shorts are way off, and this scans as Gene Deitch didn't like Tom and Jerry. He said, "I did appreciate the perfect craftsmanship, the expressive animation with its exquisite timing, the endless gag inventiveness, and the characters' incredible damage survival, but I had always cited Tom and Jerry cartoons as the primary bad example of senseless violence, humor based on pain, attack and revenge. So in his attempt to replicate the violence he didn't like, he made the violence worse." Gene Deitch wisely never brought back Mammy Two Shoes and so created a new owner for Tom. And this guy sucks. With a character design reminiscent of Gene Deitch's past work, such as Clint Clobber, Tom's owner has a severe temper and is extremely cruel to Tom. Compare him to Spike the Bulldog, who is also temperamental and will frequently beat up Tom. When we first see Spike, he's just a dog, ferocious and generally quite scary. But the more he evolved, he would show kindness to Jerry, love for his son, and whenever Tom disturbed him, he usually made his conditions very clear. Spike is likable, and he's also a dog. Dogs don't like cats, and, well, I mean, that's the trope, but, you know, that's pretty clear. Spike and Tom would not get along. This guy is meant to be Tom's caregiver, the one looking after him, and whenever Tom would accidentally hurt him chasing Jerry, he would torture Tom, or tie him up, or attack him off screen, and leave Tom crying at the end. This is something of a reflection of what Gene Deitch saw in Tom and Jerry's so-called senseless violence, something that he actually came to appreciate in the years since.
I really realized, though, that the violence was always done in such a way that the children or anyone watching it would know right away that it was just a gag. I mean, nobody took that seriously, that really happened.
There's a lot that doesn't work as Tom and Jerry shorts. The music is minimal, pacing is woeful, jokes lifted from other places, and plot lines that make little sense, like the setup of a mad scientist switching brains of animals feels like it's setting up a brain swap story, but it gets abandoned almost immediately as Tom fixates on fixing a brain-swapped cat. But Gene Deitch and his team were served an unfair deal. They had to produce twice as many cartoons per year than Hanna-Barbera did, and at a quarter of the budget. But they needed the money, and I have to admire what they managed to accomplish. I remember this scene of Tom in the bin armor haunting me as a kid. Despite the tiny budget, some episodes look really nice. The episode Dickie Mo, in particular, looks really good. And some really creative ideas here, like this sequence of Tom in a tree with his nose stuck inside of a shotgun and the trigger is on a branch and the branch snaps. It's actually really tense. I love it. At just 13 episodes, this was a very short run. So let's count those catches. 15 catches in 10 episodes, with only 3 episodes with no catches at all. That's a solid catch per episode ratio. Stuff happened, at least. Internal changes at MGM led to Gene Deitch and his team getting dropped. They would go on to produce many, many more cartoons, all of them with Gene Deitch's trademark surrealism.
Cheeseburgers.
Cheeseburgers.
Including the very first film adaptation of The Hobbit, made in just 30 days in order to retain the film rights.
What horrid little nasty has come to steal our ring, my precious?
And 7 months after Gene Deitch's final Tom and Jerry cartoon, someone else took over. Someone already pretty well known for a famous pair of characters chasing each other around. If you had to pick someone to take over directing Tom and Jerry cartoons, the guy who did the Roadrunner cartoons sounds like the most screamingly obvious choice. And coming off the closure of the Warner Brothers cartoon studio, it felt like the stars aligned for Chuck Jones and his Looney Tunes veterans, including fellow directors, to take the reins of the Cat and Mouse. It's perfect. Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote. No dialogue, wacky chases, the coyote gets bashed around in various hilarious ways, and now in charge of Tom and Jerry? So why were they so very, very mid? I always remember as a kid watching these and being like, oh, please be a normal Tom and Jerry, please be a normal Tom and Jerry, please. Oh, not that one. And I don't just mean the redesigned characters, redone in Chuck's distinctive style. It has all the DNA of a Looney Tunes cartoon, but there's something not quite landing with these shorts. But first, let's focus on the catches. In Penthouse Mouse, after Jerry nearly gets killed, he voluntarily climbs inside Tom's mouth. I never accounted for Jerry actually choosing to get caught. But whilst Tom had been trying to chase Jerry earlier, since Tom shakes him out here, I have to say Tom's intent isn't in this moment, and therefore not count it. But probably the most debatable catch occurs in Snowbody Loves Me. It has Jerry hiding inside a big lump of cheese, and Tom tries to get him out with some bellows. This causes Jerry to pop out of the different holes, which Tom can't reach in time. So he plugs up all of the holes of the cheese with corks, and in doing so, traps Jerry. Is this a catch? Tom is intending to catch Jerry, but trapping him under the cork wasn't part of the plan. I generally don't count accidental catches because it needs Tom's intent to count, but in trying to catch Jerry one way, he's accidentally caught him in a different way. So I guess in this special case, it counts. And in other unique cases, in this episode, Is There a Doctor in the Mouse? Great title. Jerry gains super speed in order to steal the food in the house, and at one point he hides inside a banana, which Tom grabs. Now, I would be inclined to call this a catch. Tom has the intent, Tom has hold of Jerry, but Jerry has superpowers here, and I don't think he's really stuck. Like later, when Jerry's super huge, Tom has intent, he has hold of Jerry, but Jerry is clearly not caught. Huh. Oh, that's how this episode ends? Oh, I mean, I presume Jerry was going to hit Tom or something. Yeah. The problem I have with the Chuck Jones era of Tom and Jerry is the lack of bite. It's like Chuck Jones really wasn't at home with the Tom and Jerry characters. Jerry was a much more charming character than Chuck could ever make him, simply because he clearly never understood him. And with Tom, it's like he said, to hell with him, and turned him into a different cat. Sorry, was that a bit mean of me? Well, don't worry. I was directly quoting Chuck Jones talking about himself, who adds, it's difficult to work with somebody else's characters. Okay, let's explain the crucial difference between Roadrunner and Tom and Jerry, and it all boils down to pain. Now, obviously, both Tom and Wile E. Coyote experience pain, but the pain is different. Oh, sure, the coyote falls off cliffs, or explodes, or gets hit by a train plenty of times, but that's a pain that feels more abstract. It's a heightened scenario, disconnected from reality. We feel comfortable laughing at the coyote because we don't know what it's like to be crushed by a boulder, and anyone says they do is probably lying. When Tom gets his teeth smashed in by a golf ball, or by a hammer, or by a woodpecker, it's still a heightened scenario, but it's a much more personal pain. It's a pain you're also meant to feel. We rarely hear the coyote cry out in pain like we do with Tom. Chuck Jones compares this to the Abraham Lincoln story of blowing up tree stumps with dynamite, unaware that one of them had an old dog sleeping inside of it. Lincoln said, "Poor Rover, his usefulness as a dog was about over." Hey, that rhymed. Basically, a Tom and Jerry version of that story would have you feel the pain of the dog exploding, whereas Roadrunner would spare you the pain. And Chuck doesn't want people to be hurt personally. The coyote's pain would often occur off-screen or in the distance or masked by a brightly coloured screen. But Tom's pain is front and centre. By the way, I looked into the exploding dog story. It wasn't a tree stump, but an annoying neighbour's dog who was tricked into eating gunpowder. And Lincoln is quite descriptive about the fragments of dog flying in every direction. So, sorry Chuck, Lincoln would have loved Tom and Jerry. Anyway, let's compare two very similar jokes where both characters are flying. The Tom and Jerry clip is from the Hanna-Barbera era. Both undercut the gracefulness of their flight by having them crash into something the moment they break the fourth wall, but we don't see the coyote's face, whereas we see Tom's beaten up face. We can see his body looks uncomfortably crushed into that mailbox, but the coyote is just flattened against the wall. Both of these are very funny. They're very well executed, they have perfect pacing, but we feel the pain of Tom, not for the coyote, and that's by design. And if you're there in the comments disagreeing with me, Chuck said, in Hanna-Barbera's golfing film where the ball hits Tom in the teeth and leaves a hole in there and then the teeth fall out, that kind of thing to me is much more hurtful than somebody falling off a cliff. He'd rely on Tom's body cartoonishly changing shapes when hurt, way more than Hanna-Barbera did. Like here, Tom's face doesn't go frying pan shaped. Hanna-Barbera showed restraint. For Chuck, it's like whenever Daffy Duck is shot. He's only partly affected and he's more annoyed than hurt. And that's exactly what Tom does here. Also, Tom's fur being actually his clothes, so softening the moments where Tom's fur gets cut or ripped. Again, Hanna-Barbera did this too, but not all the time. Basically, much like Gene Deitch, Chuck Jones also didn't care for the violence. MGM hiring someone who actually likes Tom and Jerry to make Tom and Jerry cartoons, impossible challenge. Obviously, Chuck Jones wanted to make these shorts more of his own, and that's understandable. And the work of Chuck Jones is still extremely funny, like this Daffy Duck bit.
Yoinks! And away! Yoinks! And away!
It's hilarious, but it's a style that doesn't suit Tom and Jerry as much. The pain is generally kept to the abstract, and again, Hanna-Barbera would have these moments too. It's definitely very, very funny in places. But by sidelining the pain, these shorts feel more toothless than Tom's teeth getting smashed. Alright, let's count those catches. That looks more like it. 38 catches in 20 episodes. But there's 14 episodes with no catches at all, including 2 where they create a clip show by mimicking the Hanna-Barbera style of animation. In fact, it was Chuck's studio who worked on the censoring of the Hanna-Barbera shorts for TV, such as the white woman replacing Mary Two Shoes. And as for the catch per episode ratio, by a tiny margin, it's lower than Gene Deitch. The Chuck Jones shorts are undeniably a jump up in overall quality, but if Chuck Jones was pussyfooting around violence, it meant fewer interactions and therefore fewer catches and fewer opportunities for comedy. Once again, MGM finally pulled the plug on the theatrical shorts. Chuck Jones would continue to largely focus on TV specials, such as the legendary adaptation of How the Grinch Stole Christmas. And although his feature film struggled, he created the animated sequences you see in Gremlins 2 and Mrs. Doubtfire. Tom and Jerry left the theatres and moved to television instead. And after a while, Hanna-Barbera came back to Tom and Jerry. First as the Tom and Jerry Grape Ape Show, then as the Tom and Jerry Grape Ape Mumbly Show, and then the Tom and Jerry Mumbly Show. And now you're probably thinking, who the f*** is Grape Ape? Look, not every Hanna-Barbera character was a banger, okay? Here, Hanna-Barbera leaned into Tom and Jerry are friends, not enemies, and so they rarely chase each other, and it's not good. And then, 25 years after they left the big screen, they came back. Initially, I wasn't going to count the movies, especially the straight-to-DVD movies, but if I made the distinction earlier that I was only sticking to the Tom and Jerry's that played in the cinemas, then the feature films featuring the feature creatures should count too. Tom and Jerry have appeared in 4 theatrical movies. Oh, and breaking news. Whilst making this video, China just shadow-dropped a previously unannounced Tom and Jerry movie in cinemas. Ugh. And unless I get a plane to the Shanghai International Film Festival, I'm not going to see it in time for this video to come out. Sorry. Except I'm not. The first 2 are really just honourable mentions. Anchors Aweigh and Dangerous When Wet. Anchors Aweigh is a 1945 Gene Kelly movie in which at one point he dances with Jerry Mouse. This was originally meant to be Mickey Mouse, but when the deal was rejected, they moved on to the other famous mouse. It's a landmark sequence of blending live action with animation, but given that Tom only appears very briefly as Jerry's butler, there's no chasing. And I'm not counting Gene Kelly catching Jerry, there's no catches. 0 out of 10. Dangerous When Wet is a 1943 Esther Williams movie where she dances underwater with Tom and Jerry. The sequence borrows a lot from one of their earlier shorts. There's one catch right at the very start. There's another, but this is Tom rescuing Jerry, so it doesn't really count. But then this whole thing is just an Esther Williams dream sequence anyway, so none of those catches count. 0 out of 10. They weren't in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but according to this storyboard of a deleted scene, they nearly were. But they weren't. 0 out of 10. Which leads us to the 1992 movie. Hanna-Barbera are back to steer the wheel, so once again, Tom and Jerry are magically best friends again. Alright, in fairness, they don't automatically start out that way, but perhaps more infamously, there was the decision to let them talk.
I'm Tom.
I'm Jerry.
You talked!
I can understand the difficult hurdle that is having a film where the main character can't speak, but it's hardly impossible, such as Dumbo, or limited speech like Mr. Bean, which is truer to the original shorts.
C-A-T, cat.
But it was feared that a Tom and Jerry movie wouldn't keep a kid's attention unless they could speak, so they were given the gift of gab.
How come you never spoke before?
Are you sure about that, Tom?
What's cooking, Dilly?
Come on, boy. Come on. Oh.
But I'm happy.
It wasn't often that Tom and Jerry actually spoke in the original cartoons, but it wasn't rare. As the show went on, they would gradually speak less as the other characters spoke more, like Spike and Quacker. Their speech just wasn't a requirement, as the emphasis was on the visual humour, and the regular vocalizations were enough. But obviously, this movie is the most they've ever spoken, and it adds nothing.
Down, please.
I'll give you down.
The film's story is that Tom's owners move house, accidentally leaving him behind and never coming back for him. What is it about Tom having terrible owners? Also, the house is demolished. So Tom and Jerry are homeless until a song and dance later, they can talk. Meanwhile, there's a little orphan girl in the care of a wicked guardian who uses her to gain riches. And oh, this is just Rescuers. This is just a worse version of the Rescuers, with more songs and less exposed breasts. There's 4 catches right at the start, but considering that after the first 20 minutes they're basically friends, all these subsequent grabs don't count, as Tom is not trying to catch Jerry anymore. The only debatable one I can see is that after Jerry slings gravy into Tom's face, he's grabbed. Tom looks like he's about to thump him in the face before being interrupted, but this is still within their whole best friend phase, so was Tom going to sincerely attack Jerry? The film isn't that deep, so he probably was, yeah. There's this moment in the intro where Tom uses Jerry like a golf tee, which could be a catch, but given its repeat of the exact same joke from T to 2, down to his teeth getting smashed, Chuck Jones' favourite joke, this is clearly more of a tribute to past iconic moments, rather than a fresh catch. Unfortunately, Tom and Jerry get sidelined in their own movie just for their happy, chatty, friendly counterparts to take over instead. It feels like they've just had their name slapped onto a different movie, and honestly, the results are just boring. Why did they make this movie again?
People will do anything for money.
Oh, yeah. And how did this movie perform?
Have we got news for you?
Badly. Very badly. Given how much attention was given to the gimmick of Tom and Jerry speaking for the so-called first time, it became part of the film's notoriety, and it was a critical and commercial disappointment.
Why have Tom and Jerry talk? I mean, it doesn't make any sense at all.
And after this, it pretty much became the golden rule that Tom and Jerry must never, ever speak. This was never the rule before, but it was now because of this movie. The next time Tom and Jerry would return to the theatre was a one-off theatrical short in 2005 called The Karate Guard. William Hanna had passed away in 2001, so for the first time in nearly 50 years, Joe Barbera directed one more Tom and Jerry short. This time alongside Spike Brandt, who, alongside Tony Cavone, would go on to become the modern torchbearers for Tom and Jerry. This short is a fantastic return to form. It's lively, it's painful, it's very, very funny. Jerry fails to learn karate and so is given Spike as a samurai bodyguard. So pretty much the same plot of past episodes where Spike defends Jerry from Tom. The martial arts theme kinda takes a backseat, eventually becoming a Matrix parody, which I suppose has martial arts too. The story's a little weak, but it nails the original style of the shorts, and we also get 2 new catches. This was a sort of proto-pilot for the TV show Tom and Jerry Tales, which includes Tom's new owner, a reference to another legacy character, a white woman named Mrs. Two Shoes. And so we have the most recent cinematic Tom and Jerry escapade, which is the 2021 Tom and Jerry movie. Directed by Tim Story, who also did those Chris Evans Fantastic Four movies, Tom and Jerry 2021 has the totally mute pair wind up in a hotel during a big celebrity wedding. And to work around why Tom and Jerry are animated characters in a live-action movie, every animal in the film is animated. It's an odd choice. Instead of blending in, it just draws more attention to itself. Perhaps this is a distraction, since the human characters add absolutely nothing other than just standing there. Chloe Grace Moretz, are you going to move? Oh, this is a situation. You're going to step in? You're going to move? No? You're going to keep standing. That's it. Ooh, stand for your life. This is an improvement on the previous movie, not that that's hard. The spirit of the originals and the tone of violence is largely kept here. There's this big fight cloud scene that never occurs in the theatrical shorts. The closest we get is when there's fighting off screen, but that's all, since part of the appeal of the shorts is showing the violence, not hiding it. Tom does get hurt, which makes up the better parts of the film, but there's an early scene that ruins it. It opens with Tom busking in Central Park, and Jerry cuts in to steal the attention and money. Tom tries to stop him, and it results in Tom's keyboard getting broken, leading to the chase and all the events of the movie. But I'm on Tom's side now. We're meant to be on Jerry's side and enjoy these moments where Tom fails and gets beaten up, but because the film made me sympathize with Tom and not Jerry, it just makes me feel sorry for him. The film did try to avoid this. During the busking scene, people think he's a blind cat.
I mean, he's amazing on the piano and blind too.
And then when Jerry ruins everything, people turn on Tom for apparently faking blindness.
He's a fraud! He's a regular cat playing the piano!
Tom doesn't talk, so he can't claim to be a blind cat. He doesn't advertise himself as one, other than wearing sunglasses, like Stevie Wonder. This whole bit exists to make Tom look like he was in the wrong first, before Jerry broke his keyboard. It's just badly done. And also, someone tells him to f*** off. But since they're not best friends, we actually have a selection of catches. One after the broken keyboard, which reuses this joke. 2 catches in the hotel room fight. 2 in this piano scene. 1 here. And 1 after this long, elaborate trap that, unlike older cartoons, actually works for Tom. Oh, okay. I also went frame by frame in this fight cloud sequence. No catches there. So across the modern Tom and Jerry's, that's 14 catches. But it would be a little disingenuous to lump these all together as one error for our catch per episode ratio. If we treat all 5 like we do for each era of theatrical shorts, we get 2.8 catches per film, putting it way ahead of the originals, which doesn't feel right at all. So let's pull all this data together and see what this means, if anything. To finally answer our question of how many times Tom has caught Jerry across every era, it is a total of 203 times, plus 100 potential other examples, depending if you want to debate my definition of a catch. If we ignore the movies and just total up the shorts, including The Karate Guard, then our ratio looks like this: 1 1/5 catch per episode, or 6 catches every 5 episodes. So, unsurprisingly, Tom catches Jerry a lot. And if you wanted to know how many times Tom has actually won, then there's a bonus video on my Nebula channel. Now, to fairly include the movies, we can change our ratio from per episode to per minute. All the shorts, both movies, plus the Tom and Jerry segments from Anchors Away and Dangerous When Wet, all total together gives us 1 catch every 6 minutes and 27 seconds, which is pretty much the length of a regular Tom and Jerry episode, meaning there's at least 1 catch every other episode, which sounds about right. So, what have we learned? God, what have we learned? Well, this is my opinion, but it seems like the more Tom catches Jerry, the better it is. And the more the signature violence is avoided, like making them best friends, the worse it gets. But did we really learn that, or wasn't that kinda obvious from the start? Hanna-Barbera were far from perfect, but they landed on a winning formula, elevated by wonderful animation and music, the hilarious screams, and a duo that have stood the test of time. Or maybe there's just no point to this at all. Oh, wait, there's a point! Get back here, you! As you can probably tell, making these videos means I wind up watching a lot of movies and TV shows, and that can be hard when streaming services put restrictions on everything, such as something you want to watch being available in one country, but not others, like your own. And this brings me to this video's sponsor, Proton VPN. Say you're in the UK and there's a show that's only available on the US version of Netflix. Proton VPN can change your connection from the UK to the US and let you watch what you want with no geo-blocking restrictions. And with over 12,000 servers in over 110 countries, Proton VPN can unlock the full library of many streaming services at a single click of a button. Or say you're traveling abroad but you don't want to miss your favorite shows while you're gone and you have to hide from social media just to avoid the spoilers. Well, Proton VPN can connect you back to your home country wherever you go so you don't miss a thing. So the butler did it. Again. They should really stop hiring that guy. If you've tried a VPN before and found that it causes buffering or slowdown, Proton VPN actually includes VPN accelerator technology, so you don't have to settle for some low-res video that someone filmed in a cinema, and they have a bad cough, and there's logos everywhere, and it contains a bunch of casino ads. Happens more than you think. With Proton VPN, you can stream in crisp HD and 4K as though you were watching it without a VPN. And you're not limited to just your web browser either, as Proton VPN works on all devices: phones, laptops, Android TV, Fire TV, Apple TV, and more. So whether you're on the sofa or on the go or on the fridge, get down, it's not safe. Proton VPN is ready to stream wherever you are. No more limitations or restrictions on the things that you want to watch when you want to watch them. Plus, all your viewing habits are kept completely private thanks to Proton VPN's no logs and no data collection policies. If all of that sounds appealing to you, then go to protonvpn.com/Eddache to get 64% off Proton VPN today. Thanks again to Proton VPN for sponsoring this video. Special thanks to all my patrons, including TDW fan, Zion Craze, Bubbles, Moel Kasemi, Vinny Vex, Setsune Wave, Drifter Star, Beamer Tectonic, Glenn Sugden, Skydream, Trenton Gyrone, JBG0801, Louis Wild, Brandon Sires, Benjamin Allen, Matthew Smith, Brett Halford, Clem Wamsley, Joel Jennings, Nate Kaiser, Joe Wood, and Tellytoon. And if you would like to support me, then please do so on Patreon.